March 2, 2026. A quiet neighborhood on the east side of Cleveland was about to become the center of a horrifying discovery. A man was walking his dog through a field near a school. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Just a small mound of disturbed dirt. But his dog kept pulling toward it, refusing to leave. Curious, the man walked closer. Partially buried in the ground was a suitcase. When he opened it, he immediately called police. Because inside that suitcase was the body of a child. And investigators were about to discover something even more disturbing. There wasn't just one suitcase. There were two. At around 6 p.m., officers from the Cleveland Police Department arrived near East 162nd Street and Midland Avenue. What they found shocked even veteran investigators. One suitcase had been buried in a shallow grave. Nearby, detectives discovered a second suitcase. Inside both suitcases were the bodies of two young girls. The victims appeared to be children, estimated between about 8 and 14 years old. The discovery immediately launched a homicide investigation. But one detail made the case even more confusing. Police could not immediately find any missing children reports in the city that matched the victims. Two young girls had been killed, and somehow no one had reported them missing. News of the discovery spread quickly across Cleveland. Parents kept their children close. Residents in the neighborhood described the scene as heartbreaking. Police Chief Dorothy Todd called the crime traumatic for the community and for officers working the case. Detectives now faced several urgent questions. Who were these girls? How long had they been buried there? And most importantly, who had done this? Investigators began examining the suitcases and the shallow graves. DNA testing soon revealed something important. The two victims were related. They were half-sisters. This discovery changed the direction of the investigation. Now detectives began looking for families connected to two girls who had suddenly disappeared together. Meanwhile, police canvassed the area. They interviewed residents, reviewed surveillance cameras, and searched for anyone who might have been seen near the field. Then the investigation took a dramatic turn. Within days of the discovery, detectives identified a suspect. Authorities arrested 28-year-old Aaliyah Henderson. She was charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder. The victims were later identified as 8-year-old Mila Chatman and 10-year-old Amor Wilson. The girls were half-sisters. And according to investigators, the suspect was their mother. One of the victims' fathers later spoke publicly about the tragedy. He said he had spent years trying to regain custody of his daughter. But his attempts through courts and child services had failed. Now he was left with a devastating question. Could this tragedy have been prevented? For many people following the case, the story became even more disturbing. Because it suggested warning signs might have been missed. Despite the arrest, many details remain unclear. Investigators have not publicly revealed exactly how the girls died. Medical examiners continue working to determine the precise cause of death. Detectives are also trying to establish a timeline. How long were the girls buried in the field? When did the killings happen? And what led up to that moment? The answers to these questions may ultimately come during trial. The Cleveland Suitcase Murders quickly became one of the most disturbing cases of 2026. 2 young lives lost. A horrifying discovery. And a crime scene that no one in the neighborhood will ever forget. For the residents who live near that field, the memory of police lights and crime scene tape remains vivid. Because sometimes the most shocking crimes happen in the quietest places. 2 girls. 2 suitcases. And a community still searching for answers. The investigation continues. And as the case moves toward trial, one thing is certain. The world will be watching. waiting to learn exactly what happened inside the home where this tragedy began. And hoping justice will finally be delivered.